Hi, Kevin Henry, the Group Editorial Director for Advanstar and Dental Products Report, and I'm on a Google Hangout today with Kevin Kuo from the University of Michigan and Dentition. And Kevin, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
You know, a lot of people know Kevin through a Q&A that he and I did for a recent dentalproductsreport.com exclusive about Google Glass loupes and how this was a project between Dentition and Surgitel. And Kevin, I'd love for you just to kind of talk about how that all came about and tell a little bit about Dentition as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly can. So I've always been interested in technology, and I kind of talked about it with my friends, and one thing led to another, and the three of us got together and decided, like, hey, there's a lot of applications out there, a lot of dental problems that could be solved through technology. So we came together as a company to try to help the profession proceed with things. As far as our company, we're not a products company, so the model that I'm going to show you in a second is just kind of like a concept thing. What's even more interesting is what we do with it. We're more of a service company. So officially we're a dental technology consulting company, and the way I kind of compare it to is a lot like football. We are like the general managers of the team, where we kind of figure things out, what the problems are. We bring the right players in to try to get things working, and we're also the coaches. So we kind of implement things, come up with a strategy, and make things work. So bottom line, we're innovative thinkers. We try to use technology to solve dental problems.
And one of those innovations is obviously the Google Glass loupes, and like I was telling you before we went on the air, people just went crazy reading about this. I mean, it was one of our most read articles of the year so far. Where did this idea come from, and where do you see it going?
The idea came from, I guess, in our interest in wearables, the company. It's a big step forward as far as technology. We saw a revolution with mobile devices, tablets, smartphones. The next step, naturally, is a revolution with wearables. It's a big step because so far before, all the technology we've been using was very calculated. You know you're consciously using technology. What separates devices like Google Glass allows people, and in our case, dentists, to use technology without thinking. It's like another sensory organ. There's lots of applications. The loupes part is just a prerequisite. What really interests us is what we can do with glass in general. The loupes just allows us to use what we normally use, which are loupes, in addition to glass. We kind of see a couple ways to do it. There's education side, and of course the bigger market would be private practice. We're focusing right now on education because it's more easily implemented, and we see it as a tool for students to view steps in a procedure, for example, see it live on the display while working, because it's part of you, you're wearing it, you can learn as you work.
So talk a little bit about for those who haven't used Google Glass. So you're wearing the loupes, you're using the Google Glass, and you're actually able to diagnose while you're using the loupes, or what's the biggest application here that you see?
Yeah, I got my device here actually, and I'll kind of demonstrate with it.
Great.
So in the upper right corner right here, you see a prism. That's the display, and there's also a camera. It shoots 5 megapixel shots and shoots 720p. So a lot of people have been focusing more on the camera. You hear this hot topic word, telemedicine. It is interesting, but for us, we don't think it's quite applicable for dentistry since everything's so small. Mm-hmm. So what really excites us instead is the display part. For students, what's interesting is being able to see procedures. A lot of times, before we actually see patients, we see videos of professors doing work. And usually what this involves is us watching a video as a class together, and that usually is 30 minutes to an hour, and then we get started. And that's a lot of time that we lose interest, we forget things. It's just very natural for someone to be able to watch that demonstration live, step by step, and then work at the same time.
So if I'm a GP and in the middle of the country, where do you see this going for me? Is this something that you see in my practice 5 years from now, sooner than that? I mean, in your crystal ball, what do you see?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So we're focusing on education right now just because it's a natural transition. It's brand new technology. It's just easier to implement in an academic setting. In private practice, this is where it would be even more useful, actually, and we're really excited about it, and that's something that we're working on as well. Ultimately, with devices like this, it's basically a computer on your head, and we see it more as a system, and that's why it's so hard to implement right away. In order for this device to be truly useful, it has to work with the systems, the software that dentists are already using. We don't really see this device that would be in private practice with just one killer app. We don't see a killer app. We see like a system. Because of that, it's hard. So some examples and applications in private practice would be notifications. It's a perfect device for getting messages from your assistants saying when they need checks, from the front desk to see what your appointments are. You can go through your day and see who's coming in and what they're in for and look at their medical histories. So in essence, you can view information, and that also includes specific patient information. It's not just as a communication with other staff members. You can look at patients' radiographs, their health history, all on the spot as you move. Kind of to repeat what I said before, why this is so significant is that you're wearing it and you can view it as you do other things. Besides that, what's really interesting is other pieces that are not notification, and there's a lot of applications that are not defined yet, and we're trying to look for those too. That's just the kind of the baseline what we're looking at.
Sounds like you've got quite a project ahead of you just with this. Do you all have anything else in the hopper, or is this the main thing you're focusing on right now?
So this is the main thing right now, just because we're just starting up and our manpower is limited, and then we're going through a transition period with graduation, finding jobs, going to residencies. So that's our focus for now. But what you brought us is an important point to make, is that we're not just doing this. In the future, there's going to be other projects that we work on that's not involved with glass. One example would be gesture control. A lot of times, infection control is difficult as we work with electronics, and being able to control electronics, computers, including glass, with gestures, hands-free, would be very cool. So just an example of the thought process that we have. We think of problems that we have, inefficiencies, things that could be better, and we try to use technology and help whatever client it could be private practice dentists, it could be academics, it could be private companies with software or manufacturers of hardware. That's who hopefully we can work with and help implement into all those different settings.
It sounds great, Kevin. I mean, it's just so cool to see this technology coming in, and that you guys are kind of leading the charge with that. Could you give our viewers a website or somewhere they can get more information on your company or you in general?
Yeah. So you just have to just Google search us. We're everywhere. We're on. We have our own website, dentition.com. You can find us on Facebook. We have videos on YouTube as well. If you search us there, we have a LinkedIn profile, and from those links, you'll be able to read more about us and communicate to us if you have any inquiries.
Kevin, thanks so much for your time, man, and best of luck to you in the future. It sounds like it's a very bright future ahead.
Thanks for having me.